Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Shashank's podcast. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Haritosh Srivastav. Hi, Haritosh.
Hi Shashank, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, moving forward, it will be great, Haritosh, if you could tell us about your journey. Uh, what has been your journey so far? Where did your education? Where did you do your graduation? Which all companies you worked? I think that will be great.
Sure. I'm a Toastmaster, so I'll try to keep it short, not too long. But
Okay.
yeah, hello everyone watching or listening this. My name is Haritosh Srivastav. I'm currently an IT project manager working in TCS with close to 15 years of work experience. My journey started with I was born and brought up in a small town called Jaunpur in next to Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, and I was pretty much there until class 12th intermediate. I was a student from Hindi medium school. Then I did my engineering from Greater Noida, 4 years there, and then 2007 I graduated, and then I joined my first corporate called Mindtree Limited, amazing company. I was there for close to 4 years, and then I came back to another great organization called Sopra Steria. It used to be called Sopra India Private Limited then. Now it's Sopra Steria. So I was close to 1.5 years there, and then for last decade or so, I've been working with TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, and I serve pharma customer. I'm an IT project manager now, but I've gone through multiple transition in my career, starting with a junior software engineer or software engineer to say, then going on to become technical lead, project lead, and project manager, etc., etc. Currently, my passion is helping people become a great communicator and public speaker. So I'm a public speaking coach, a certified mentor, and also in 2020 when the world was getting close and I had just reached UK, I thought either I can spend my time watching Netflix, Prime, and other OTT platform, which I did partially. But I also thought about what could be something that I can do which will have a greater impact for me, and more importantly, for anyone who wants to connect with me. And with that thought, I started penning down my life journey, my experiences, lessons, failures, anything that happened with my life. And with that came the concept of the book that I'm now the proud author of, called Small Town Bigger Dreams. It's been there. Yeah, it was released last year in June in Kindle, and in November it became available as a paperback, and it's been great journey. So that's a little bit about me.
Brilliant. I think that's a plethora of experience you have, and coming from a small town called Jaunpur, right? I mean, a lot of people can relate to it. A lot of us, grew up in small towns, but with big aspirations. Then you move to bigger cities for your graduation, and that's when you get exposed to the global world. You mentioned that you did your schooling from a different medium of language.
That's correct.
That's correct, right? So, how has been your transition? Because when I talk to a lot of people, they say they are
Mhm.
from Hindi medium or some different medium, but they always have that, challenge or thing in mind कि English की बहुत importance है आज के ज़माने में, right? It's very important. So, what is your take on that, and what has been your mindset in becoming from a student who was in, school in Hindi medium, from a person who is abroad teaching communication to foreign clients whose native language is English, right? So, how has been the
Yeah.
journey and the mindset for that?
I would say journey has been nothing sort of a dream. I never thought. I mean, I
Yeah.
say in my book as well. In if it was in 1995, if somebody would have said that you're gonna go and you're gonna travel so much, you're gonna. I just was calculating few months back, and like I've traveled more than 50,000 miles over air miles and all. And I
Mhm.
never thought I would be like this. I thought, okay, I'm from a small town and I'm Hindi medium. Maybe I'll become a clerk in a government department or something, or maybe you got to be engineer or doctor if you are in India.
Yeah.
So I became engineer, but coming to the larger context, apart from my own journey, there are two things that I would like to say. First thing is, language is just a tool. So a lot of people think that language determines your communication. That's probably wrong. Language is just a tool, and there are so many other nuances when it comes to communicating, be it body language, be it vocal variety, be it the way you say, more than what you say is important. Having said that, if we talk about English as a language, we are in a global world. We are in a world where we need to communicate to people. Even if you are in India, your language with the other people from other state won't be the same as your native. Like if I'm from, say, Uttar Pradesh, my mother language is Hindi. Somebody who's from Tamil Nadu doesn't probably know Hindi. Then we need to have a global language where we can all communicate. So it's very important that we learn the global language if we want to go global, if we want to grow in the career, if we want to know. Not negating the importance of Hindi in whatsoever. That's my mother language. I have deep respect. I like to contribute to spread it, but at the same time, that should not be on the expense. I see people on different poles. There are people who are only like, no, we need to only learn English and English is the only language. And there are people who are so-called patriotic that only Hindi should be there. I'm of none of those opinions. I think we all need to appreciate our mother language, appreciate our native language. At the same time, strive to be a better communicator in the global language. If you want to learn, if you want to communicate, if you want to share, if you want to present to any of the customers, not only customer from, say, US, UK, even to customer from, say, Germany, who knows German, you can't be learning German, or you can't be learning French, or you can't be learning Chinese language. You have to go through a global language, and that in this case is English. If it was something else, we would have learned that. But the fact of the matter is, it is English, and we need to learn that.
Brilliant. I think brilliant insights there. I really liked the concept you mentioned. Language is just a tool. Unfortunately, a lot of people in India think, you need to learn English for growth. I think it's just a tool. Yeah, that's brilliantly put up there. So you mentioned that you are a certified coach and you have done a lot of certifications in public speaking and communication. If you could throw some light based on your experience, what is the importance of communication in corporate world? You have joined a company because for students out there, students tend to think in that way. We need to have good marks, we need to have knowledge, but based on a report that I studied in Stanford University, it's your communication and your soft skills that are responsible for your success, right? So if you could throw some light on the importance of communication in the corporate world and how it helps you in the growth of your career.
Absolutely. So I'll start with bigger examples and then I'll come back to that. We all know Warren Buffett, and those who do not know, Warren Buffett is the biggest investor of all times. And he has done a lot of courses, done a lot of curriculum, certification on all of that. But if you go to his office, the only certificate he displays is the course that he did on public speaking by Dale Carnegie Institute. And he said he is proud of because he was terrified. And in his word, he says that, no, if you want to become worth 50% more than what you are currently, you need to learn about communication skill. You need to learn about presentation skills. That is the importance of that. If the biggest investor of the world is paying, there has to be a gravity. Giving an Indian example, we all know Indra Nooyi, ex-CEO of Coca-Cola, and she that no, there is never over expenditure on communication skills training. That's her words. So if biggest giants of the industry are saying there is something. Now coming back to the real world, the people. If we are working in corporate, there are two types of people that we will say. There are people who are very hardworking, people who are geek. If I talk about it, he knows everything in the code. And there are people who are very good at communication skills. And tell me, Shashank, if you have to send somebody to a customer's location on site, would you choose somebody who's geek, who's not able to articulate, is completely lost in his or her thoughts, or somebody who may be average in coding and average in other things, but he's an amazing speaker, amazing communicator, is able to persuade people to take action? Who would you send?
Definitely the second one, who is good at communication.
Right. Exactly. That is the importance of that, right? So a lot of time, what you know is great, but you also need to tell what you know. And for that, you need to have communication. I say that even if you're a scientist, you're working in silos, you don't have anybody else working with you, you are doing your experiment and research, and you got a breakthrough, you got a biggest invention, $1 billion invention or something. Even for that, to reach out to people, to communicate, you need to know communication skills. Otherwise, it will be great, you know that, but nobody else will understand. And that's what happens with, I remember this speech by Mohammad Katani, the world champion of public speaking. And in his championship speech, he says that, no, a lot of time we don't understand the impact of global warming. That's because the weather guys are not able to articulate it properly. So if we are able to articulate, communicate, even if we know a little less, that's still okay. Similarly, coming to the student, we're coming from bigger to generic and to student. Why is that? And has happened with me. Why is that? That some students who are not that studious, not that meritorious, get selected, while the toppers sometimes don't get selected. And this is where the difference happens, because they groom themselves, they come up with great communication skills. And companies know that, no, if you have great communication skills, we will give you anyways all the training, all the tools, all the artifacts you will have. You can do that. Even if you're average in studies but great in communication, we can do you. But the other way around is going to be more costlier. So that's why people who work on their communication skills get more rewards. It may seem unfair, but this is what it is.
Brilliant. I think you have covered it all together. Based on your experience, how has communication helped you in the growth of your career, right? Whether it is asking for a hike or getting feedback from the client, or client giving feedback to your boss that he has been very good at communication, or giving a presentation. So these are certain areas wherein, communication plays a very important role there. Based on your experience, how has communication helped you in growth of your career, and what do you feel is the most important aspect of communication that actually helps you propel your career?
Great question, Sushant. So how has this helped me? I think it has helped me immensely. Whether I'm asking for a raise, or having a appraisal discussion with my managers or my teams. Not a lot of time we talk about communication with managers. We don't what communication you're doing with your team. If you are a manager, how are you giving the feedback? Knowing that if you just criticize somebody or you just sugarcoat somebody, is not going to help them. So knowing the importance of giving feedback in the right way, where you're not only appreciating them but also giving them some nudges to work upon, some things to polish upon, that also is part of communication. And for me, I think it's been great rewarding journey. I love the fact that at times people try and come and give different kind of demonstrations to customer and features and other. And when I am able to go and tell them the backdrop of the story, telling them, okay, for example, if you have a new website, and just go and tell them, okay, this is the website, you click here and you do this and not, versus tell them that when your customer will come, here is what he will find, and this can really make their process easy. They will have much better turnaround, much better search engine optimization. So telling a story instead of just telling features makes a lot of difference and a lot of impact. And that I feel truly, and I've been appreciated by customer many times, because there is always a disconnect between what IT or what we as industry think about in terms of how do we articulate versus how customers or business want to and if you can be a bridge between, that's the excellent position you can be, where you are able to understand the IT terminologies, IT facts and figures and everything, but also are able to understand the customer's need and able to articulate in the way they need to know. That's where it makes a difference. So asking about what is that one thing that we need to master in communication. Well, communication has got, as you know, 4 things: oral, written, listening, and reading. All of them are important. There's nothing like this is not important, but I think depends on which level you are. If you are somebody who's starting the career, chances are that you probably need to write emails more than going to the exact no going to one-to-one conversation with customer, or or there will be somebody to back you up. So in that case, working on your written communication becomes very important. The way you are writing the email, the way you are able to put your points across. But as you move into the ladder, how you speak, what you speak, and how do you articulate becomes more important. So depends on if you are a entry level, definitely need to work on the written communication skill. We all need to work on that. But as you gradually progress in your career, you also need to work on the oral communication skill, the public speaking skill, the way you come and give a talk in front of the customers, in front of the team, in front of the town hall. That also makes a difference.
Brilliant. As you mentioned about storytelling, and I think before we, I would like to discuss on the storytelling part, because that's the buzzword in the market and that's the thing, right? But I think it's a very interesting thing that my boss shared with me a couple of days back. She was mentioning that communication, the key for a very effective communication is it should be done with an intent, really good choice of words, and with that sets up some kind of a context, and that is the key for a effective communication. And I think in corporate, what I feel is, if as far as people are communicating, there's a beautiful quote, right? Communicate, communicate, communicate 3 times, right? As long as people are communicating, there is exchange of ideas and people are on the same page, it actually removes a lot of inefficiencies and bottlenecks, when you're working in a team. I think that's the importance of communication. And she also mentioned a very important thing, that it is okay if you over communicate, but it is not okay if you don't communicate, right? So I think that's the value there.
Absolutely. And to add what you said, I think one of the phrase which I teach in my class as well is called WIIFM. Do you know the full form of that? It's
No, I don't
called
know.
What's in It for Me. Yeah, WIIFM, which is the most important radio station. It's called What's in It for Me. Every time you're speaking, your audience, your customer, your team, your manager, everybody is thinking about what's in it for me. Why is it that? So, for example, if you go to customer and you keep blowing your own hands, and I've done this and that, but you don't tell them that how can you help them? What can you deliver for them? What can you streamline for them? It won't be as effective as that. So one of the keys of communication, public speaking, or other form of communication is knowing that, understanding the audience perspective. If I'm sending an email to Shashank, what should Shashank be looking forward to versus what I'm writing is more important, right? If I'm having a talk this time, if I just continue talking about myself and these all the great things that I've done, probably the listeners who are listening it now, or viewers who are watching this, may not feel more empowered than talking about how can they implement this in their day-to-day operation, in their day-to work, in their studies. So knowing that WIIFM, what's in it for me, really makes a difference. So, and then, yeah, agree to that. No, over communication is much better than under communication. If you don't talk to somebody, yeah, that is a disconnect. But at the same time, I would say over communication, under communication is fine, but more than that, I think what you say is not more important than how you say. If you we all have people who speak a lot, but when after they have spoken for 30, 40, 50 minutes, you will be wondering that what exactly he said, what exactly is the point he wanted to make, because they will start from one point and then move on to other point and then something else, and by the end of it you'll be like, okay, what exactly he was trying to say or she was trying to say. I would probably prefer that somebody who is I won't say not blunt or not annoying, but at the same time having a crisp communication, especially in a formal communication. I'm not talking about the general chit chat that happens, but in a formal communication, when you're sending email to customer and you're talking to customers. So these are the 3 things or 4 things that we're going to discuss today. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and these were the point discussed. You have any questions? That is more than having 16 paragraph and then customer wondering what exactly I'm supposed to do. So that's my viewpoint on that.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I have observed is, in a very high performance environment, such as like a military operation, or a scenario in which a business scenario in which a consultant is at a client side. I think these are the two
Correct.
areas wherein a lot of stress is on that. Stop saying when you're done saying what you're supposed to say, right? So I think it's very important there. It removes a lot of confusion. And what you mentioned about professional communication, I think saying what you want to say and then stop saying once you have said that, I think
Absolutely.
it is the key there. I think
Absolutely.
it removes a lot of confusion and it is very effective, I would say. So
Correct.
I think brilliant insights shared by you. Especially, I really
Thank
like
you.
the concept of what is there in it for me,
What's
right?
in it
And
for me? Yeah. WIFM. Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant thing. And just I would like to discuss about one more thing. I was speaking to my cousin who runs a company, and he said that, Shashank, there are two kind of sales, right? And there is one in which is like a more hard sell, you're convincing, and then there is another kind of sale which is like you're influencing, and you influence
Indeed.
once you understand their perspective and say those right words which create a connect there, right?
Absolutely. Nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I think the third thing I have learned is what is there in it for me, right? So if you speak it from a perspective of them, like directly you say this is beneficial for you, this is how it is going to benefit, even though if they don't buy it, but somehow they get influenced, right? So down the line pipeline they might
Absolutely.
get convinced to it, right? I think that's a
Correct. Correct.
brilliant approach there, brilliant approach. And it's surprising how communication is not given so much of importance in our education, but it is the key, right? There are people everywhere, and
Yeah.
I think that is the key there.
Totally agree to that. I think yeah, things are changing now. I won't say
Uh-huh.
when we were studying, and yeah,
Mhm.
I shouldn't be criticizing my college, but yeah, we didn't
Uh-huh.
had any specific communications.
Mhm.
And more than theoretical knowledge, communication is something, like you said, it has to be something which has to be experienced. So
Mhm.
apart from just remove that formal part of it, but
Mhm.
we need to communicate, we need to have those talks and discussions. So I remember when we were in college and we didn't have any such avenues,
Mhm.
what we started doing is that we started getting some technical magazines, and we
Mhm.
had 5-6 friends, and we said, okay, all of us gonna prepare something for 5-minute talk, and we'll be in the hostel. So everybody will choose one topic and then we'll come and present.
Uh-huh.
We didn't know the concept of how to do and all of this. I found after so many years Toastmaster works on the similar concept. But the point here is that no, at times you will not have the formal means to practice that, but still, if you have the willingness, if you really want to do that, you can make it happen. You can start practicing with your friends, practicing with your colleagues, practicing with your friends, families, anyone that you can find, or go to a nearby Toastmasters club, or go to another. There are so many other kinds of things happening.
Uh-huh.
Go to improv classes, again, amazing place where you can go and practice. The more you practice, like they say, if you sweat more in practice, you will be more relaxed in the actual session. So if
Yeah.
you communicate outside the actual where you have to communicate more, then you don't have to communicate more in the actual one, and you'll still make an impact. That is the key, I believe.
Brilliant. I think lot of people must be watching Shark Tank, and I think Shark Tank, when investors were sitting, right, they were completely focusing on what kind of pitch they are giving, because first impression matters a lot. And I think good communication gives you that edge over there, right?
Absolutely. There's so many things involved, and I've seen Shark Tank India, and I was
Uh-huh.
recording a video for my courses, and I
Uh-huh.
mentioned in that, like, because one of the thing in communication is how do you win through emotion. So I remember one group came here, was I think from Birla College of Technology or something, and they had created this brilliant braille trainer or something, where all the
Yes.
people who do not have the vision, you can.
Mhm.
So instead of just keeping features on features or benefit after benefit, they really got a blind kid, and they demonstrated through that. And more than them, I was excited, like, yeah, this guy should get the investment. This is a brilliant thing. And this is what happens when you bring emotions and storytelling into the picture. The story of that blind kid, how he's struggling before this machine, before this invention was there, in terms of learning, especially with COVID and other things happening. And now how much he's enjoying the lessons and also learning through that machine. That makes the story, and that that was brilliant. So I was like, yeah, this is exactly what we need to do in our communication, bringing up stories and emotions and making people jump like, yeah, I want to work with you. I want to do that for you.
Brilliant. I think so. I have this very, interesting question here. People, I have had, interaction with a lot of people, a lot of HR also stress that, you should bring in that aspect of storytelling, even in interviews or while you're communicating, right? So in what areas we should bring storytelling and how we should bring storytelling?
In what areas we should bring storytelling? I think storytelling is everywhere. I mean, there's a classic example of one of my coaches who said that at it is 9 p.m. in the night and you go and ask your kid, do you want to see a PowerPoint presentation? You'll be like, what? But if I tell, do you want to hear a story? He or she will be excited, right? So there's always a place for storytelling. Yeah, you need to master storytelling in the sense that there are different components of storytelling. You can't a lot of people either say too less or too much about storytelling. And there are different components like what is the setup, what are the characters, what are the emotions, how there has to be a conflict if you want it to be interesting. It has to be a conflict. Doesn't have to be the mountain breaking or something, but even a simple conflict like somebody no, for let's take the Sartang example. A blind boy is struggling in terms of learning. So that's a conflict. And then has to be a resolution. So the device that they brought is the resolution. So having those components when you incorporate in your stories, that makes it effective story.
Brilliant, brilliant. Any ideas that you feel could help build that storytelling? Because to be an effective communicator, right? And you are an expert in communication. What do you recommend? How can somebody improve his or her communication during their day-to-day life? Any ideas there?
How can somebody improve their communication day-to-day life? Yeah, practice and communication. As I said, there are 4 parts to it, and some of the things, especially somebody who's coming from ESL, English as a second language background, making an environment of English language, for example, is a great way to improve communication. So what I generally propose to my clients who are going through that is that listen to podcasts, English podcasts, and not only from people from Asian background, but also from native speakers who are from British background, American background, Australian background. So listening to them is getting you trained to different sounds. Then reading books from different authors from different background, that allows you a lot of watching a lot of videos, motivational video or learning videos, all of these, and with the subtitles on. If you are having struggling with the language, then keep on the subtitles so that you are able to make neurological connections with, okay, he's saying this, which means this. So making those subtitles, all kind of these. And then last but not the least, most important is the speaking. So if you can engage all of those 4 things, speaking, listening, watching, reading, this is where you build an environment, you build a setup for you to dramatically improve. And that's what I've seen. So listening to podcasts, watching YouTube and other video platforms, not only what, and then reading books. Yeah, people who don't know, there used to be physical books and you can still order physical books. So reading books, and then communicating with people, communicating at wherever you get an opportunity, whether it's a team meeting, whether it's a customer meeting, whether it's a town hall, whether it's just a birthday party, wherever it is you're getting the opportunity to communicate. If you can do all the 4 of these, that's where you become a confident communicator.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think most of the world leaders, they focus on the communication. I think one of the biggest reasons they come into power is communication. Like considering case of Obama or Modi, they are very good.
A great example of communicator. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now coming to the ending part. So you are a certified communication coach, and you coach people. What kind of certification or what kind of journey one should go through to become a communications coach or a business coach? What are the certifications available? Because people sometimes, as a student, I have seen that people are confused what to do, how to get that certification, how to develop business around communication. If you could throw some light on that, I think
Sure. Sure. I'm a public speaking coach, and I'm certified mentor. I've got a certification in my thesis internally for mentorship. I believe in this 21st, 22nd century, certification. Yeah, I might be saying that having said the certified mentor, what certification you go through is not as important in what you know. And yeah, I help personally help. I'm coaching a lot of people become communication coach. Anyone wants to get in touch with me, most welcome. But I think more than getting certified and all, what we need to have is a mentor, is a coach, is a guide who can walk you through the journey, right? I've seen so many people doing different kind of certification ranging from few hundred bucks to few lakhs, but at the end of it, they don't get any ROI out of it. They don't get any return. I would rather invest on a coach or mentor who can really walk me through the process versus giving me a certificate towards the end with all the amazing font and other things. But and I'm wondering, okay, great, what to do next? And that's what is happening in startup world as well, right? You don't even need to be a BTech to become a coder or become a great programmer. As long as you know the skills, that's what is more important now. So I would definitely, yeah, unless you have somebody who has a lot of financial background, lot of people to look after, I would say work on your skills first, get a coach, a mentor first, then going through all these crazy certification. That helps. I'm not saying that doesn't help, but you have to think about the ROI, whether whatever you are investing is worth the investment in terms of the money, in terms of the time, and in terms of the effort.
Brilliant. I think you were spot on prioritizing what is going to bring in the biggest value in your life. I think that sort of clarity for every student or a working professional, I think it has to be there. Very nice. It was a brilliant session, Haritosh. Anything that you would like to share from the communications and public speaking point of view? Anything that is you've got that golden recipe that you would like to share it with your audience? That is game changing.
I think we've covered a lot of things. Thank you, Shashank, and you've covered a lot of things. I would like to say that everything starts with a mindset. If you can imbibe the real mindset, if you can imbibe that, yes, I can be a great communicator, I can be an amazing presenter. If you get that mindset, that is the very first key. Then everything else you will figure it out. But if you start going through imposter syndrome, if you start doubting yourself, no, I'm coming from this background, I've done this, I've not done this. That's where, when the self-doubt comes, that's where all the progress goes down the drain, if I may say. So having the self-belief, getting that mindset is the very first important and essential thing, whether it's the communication thing, whether it's anything in the world that you want to do. You need to get into the right mindset. Once you get that, that's where you can go to, you can't even imagine what level you can go. This is what it is.
Brilliant, I think. That was a brilliant session, Haritosh. Very much grateful for
you for having me here,
taking out your time. For all the listeners out there, I would highly recommend to get a mentor, who could handhold you for your growth, for your progress in career. Believe me, the biggest form of investment or the most valuable investment that you can do in your life is on yourself and in improving your skill sets. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Haritosh. Thank you for taking out time. And please, people, feel free to come, get in touch with Haritosh for any sort of guidance. He's a great mentor, and I would like to thank him also for, being volunteering to be the first guest in my podcast series.
My pleasure. I love to be there and talking about things I'm passionate about. And thank you. It didn't look like you're doing it for the very first time, so I must commend you. So keep it up. The key is to keep it going. Doesn't matter from where you start. What matters is you keep it going. So I'm really looking forward to your 100, 200, 500 episodes. So keep it up, and you're doing a great service. So all the guys who are listening or watching this, wherever it is, please subscribe or join Shashank's group or whatever it is. He's an amazing guy. So kudos to him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Haritosh. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.